Hello, it's Richard Pearce from FinextraTV, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Paul Jepson and Sadia Ahmed. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a couple of days after our Sustainable Finance.Live workshop with Finextra and Responsible Risk, and you guys were, hosting. Sadia, you were hosting obviously the tokenisation session and leading us through it. Paul, you were very much leading with us on the content. And just to remind people, Sadia is the Innovation and Strategy Lead at BX, and Paul is the Nature and Recovery Lead at Ecosulis. So I wanted to just ask you, Sadia, first of all, really, I suppose, what's a couple of key insights and takeaways, if you will, that you took from joining into the whole process?
I think for me, one of the key insights was around there continues to be a growing demand for nature-based solutions and for ESG, CSR type products for corporates and the investor community. And for me, that was in some ways surprising, because with COVID, I thought there might be, a slackening off of that demand. But in reality, over the last few days, all I've seen is people saying we need solutions more than ever, with things like Build Back Better. And so I think for me, that was one of the really key take-home messages, that there is still massive demand for solutions in this space.
Interesting. And Paul, from your point of view, I mean, getting into more of the solution rather than the demand side of things, what did you sort of see and take away?
I think for me, the workshop was really encouraging, and we were talking generally in this field of the emerging markets of natural capital credit, markets for natural capital credits. And two things that I took away was that we were presenting two things. One was the concept for a more holistic nature recovery or rewilding credit, and then the other part was saying, well, actually, we could do that in a sort of tokenized way. And the thing I took away is that people thought that both of those ideas had merit and they could work. And as Sadia just sort of commented on, this increasing interest in, not just carbon credits. How can we now move that to having these credits which people can invest in ecosystem restoration? So my main insight was that sort of concept was welcome and considered to be feasible.
Yeah, I think really, if you go back to the other sessions as well, where people were talking about the spectrum of capital and the fact that some of the really large investments can't find enough projects to invest in, and they need almost a pooling of lots of smaller ones. So there's clearly a gap, and it seemed that there was a real gap for tokenization as a way of actually bringing more accessibility to smaller projects. I don't know if you felt that this was a demand that was being fulfilled by what you were proposing, Paul.
Well, in some ways, that's one of the motivations for sort of design innovation we're trying to do is to make nature recovery investable at scale, and realizing that for that, to make that connection between, if you like, the financial markets and the people who have the land to do that, the financial markets need scale. The people who are doing it, they either have smaller land holdings or they're going to do it tentatively in a testing way. So there needs to be some form of aggregation which can happen there. And the idea of this rewilding token and also the technologies behind it, they would give that ability where you've got almost like a standardized token. It's registered. It can be bought. It can be invested in. It can be produced. So the hope was with that we might be moving towards making that connection of, the connection between the scale at which money needs to invest to be viable. So there's not too many sort of transaction costs, but then the scale of the production of natural capital credits from landowners or land managers.
Yeah, perfect. And Sadia, I mean, there was basically, it was about 8 hours of content that we got through over the last couple of days. And so, there's editorial, there'll be a visual record, there are videos, but, what would you say to people how to find their way into, perhaps this tokenization session? How could they come to it latterly?
I think, as you quite rightly said, there's loads of content on the Finextra website, so that would probably be my first port of call. There's unlimited resources really online, but I think also, from my standpoint, reach out to myself at BX. This is an area that we're working on, just like Ecosulis, and so I would say come and connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul, just if you're thinking about, the people looking at your content, if they said, I've only got time to look at sort of, one slide or whatever, where would you point them? Is it maybe your website? I'm trying to think of giving people accessible entry.
That's a good question, actually, because our website's just been rebuilt, so that's probably not the best bit of it. But maybe it's getting in touch. I mean, we've got sort of concept notes we can share with people. So I think a direct contact at the moment would be the best way to do that.
Very good. Now, Sadia, you've been involved in quite a few of these workshops, and Paul, this is a new experience for you, getting together in the preparation and the workshopping. You're busy people, and this is all on your, all for free. Why do you do it, Sadia?
I think I do it because of the opportunity to find people who have similar ideas, but also different ideas. The networking and being able to make connections is just invaluable, and it's, yeah, I think invaluable is the best word I can come up with to describe it. So yeah, I think that's why I do it. It's very much about being able to come up with solutions together.
Yeah, let's hope so. Certainly it's intense, so that's good to hear. Paul, what about you?
Well, it's similar. I mean, I think we're in this incredible point in history where we're moving from trying to avoid harm to nature and the biosphere to trying to do that plus restore and recover the nature and the biosphere. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if we could be the generation to make that switch? But I think we all know, and I think this is where technology helps, is that no one person, no one company is going to do that. Yeah. It's going to be, a network, a consortium, a movement of different enterprises coming together to try and achieve that goal. And the beauty of this for me is being, as I said, coming into contact with, really considered, professional, expert people from different areas on different areas, and that feeling that we can do this as a community, all in our own businesses, different walks of life, but there's something we can start focusing on and to have that bigger goal to work towards. And my goodness, that is just, well, it's a bit of a buzz, to be honest.
Well, I often talk about it as a sort of hackathon for business people, and business people don't know what I mean, technology people do, but I think you're getting a feel of why the techies love a hackathon, and hopefully that's what we can do next, is turn it into a product and we can actually make a difference. So for now, Paul and Sadia, really appreciate you joining in the process, and hopefully our next update will be some positive progress on this particular initiative. But for now, thanks very much.
No, thank you very much.